much for joining me today. Sorry. Can you please? I can a little bit less. There, a little bit less. Back the way you came. Back. Okay. Okay. Thank you to Northwest Tap Connection. That was an amazing performance. Thank you so much to Ben Hunter for emceeing. Thank you to Council President Hollingsworth for welcoming us to her district. And thank you to And thank you to everyone else who is here in person today, including City Council members, our City Attorney, our County Executive, other local elected officials. I think I see our Sound Transit CEO here, consular officials, community labor and business leaders, department directors, city employees, and people from all across Seattle. This is your city. I'm so excited to be gathered here at Langston Hughes. This beautiful building began its life more than 100 years ago as home to Washington State's oldest Orthodox synagogue. In 1969, the city purchased this building, and over time it evolved into the incredible cultural resource that we all know. The extraordinary visual artist Jacob Lawrence once had an exhibition here. The visionary author Octavia Butler appeared here. Deliver lectures, and his work has been performed here many times over the years. This is a place that has been home to so many emerging artists and hosted so much extraordinary talent. It's a partnership between community and the city's Office of Arts and Culture that offers classes and performances and serves as a cultural hub. And I am so happy to be here to deliver my first State of the City address. It is especially meaningful to be here because this is Black History Month, and this year actually marks the 100th anniversary of the first declaration that February is a month to honor the history, experiences, and power of America's Black and African American communities. Here in Seattle, Black communities built neighborhoods, institutions, businesses, and social movements that continue to define who we are today. And Black History Month calls on us not only to remember, but to act. And I think we all know that we are in a moment when our rights are under attack from so many directions, when it feels like at a national level we are moving backwards, when it can feel impossible to believe that our country will ever emerge from the storm clouds. And in these moments, it is so important to look to history and to recognize that we have stood at similar junctures many times before, and to remember how much has been achieved through social movements that emerged in the toughest times, brought people together, and won transformative change. This month also marks the beginning of Ramadan and also Lent, which are times of fasting, prayer, reflection, and charity. And today is Lunar New Year. Yes. Which is a time for renewal, for family, and of course to welcome the spring. In this season of reflection and new beginnings, I am so excited to be your mayor. And I'm so hopeful about what we can accomplish together. But that doesn't mean that I look at the city through rose-colored glasses. The hope I feel comes from history, from looking at an institution like this one here, how it's evolved over time and overcome challenges to become what it is today, and from recognizing how that history lets us better imagine what is possible. As the writer, thinker, and organizer Mariame Kaba puts it, hope is a discipline. It's something you have to practice. You have to actually put in the energy and the time. You have to be clear-eyed, hold fast to a vision, and still make the decision every single day to keep moving forward. The discipline of hope is necessary, but I think we all know that it can also be challenging. And I want to start by acknowledging one of the hardest things that has happened this year in Seattle, the loss of the 2 Rainier Beach High School students late last month who were shot and killed while waiting for the bus after school. We have also recently seen deadly shootings in the Chinatown International District and in Pioneer Square. After the tragedy in Rainier Beach, we quickly coordinated with the Seattle Police Department and Seattle Public Schools to ensure increased security presence during the times when people are traveling to and from the school. My team and I have spent time grieving with the victims' families, connecting with community members, and talking about the changes that we need to make as a city. How can students be expected to learn if you are worried, as one young woman told me, that if you leave school for lunch, you might never come back? How can you be expected to concentrate in class if you're living in a constant state of grief or fear? And how can you be expected to thrive when you've seen so much tragedy and not nearly enough hope and opportunity and joy? We have to do better for our kids. And I know that hopes are not enough. My job as mayor is to do everything I can to turn those hopes into realities. My job is to take action. In partnership with trusted community organizations, our Human Services Department, and our Department of Education and Early Learning, my office is implementing an intensive stabilization plan through the end of this school year to reduce conflict and prevent retaliation. In the Chinatown International District, SPD will restore a late-night presence that was effective before it was discontinued last year. And after hearing from key neighborhood leaders, we are also examining options for legal action against building owners who refuse to take responsibility for chronic nuisance properties with long histories of creating dangerous environments for neighboring residents and businesses. But we can't just react and stabilize. We have to get to the roots of the problem. My office is working to develop a robust and multi-pronged gun violence strategy that will involve collaboration across city departments, county partners, and community experts, including those who have lost loved ones to gun violence. Chief Barnes and other SPD leaders bring extensive experience in gun violence reduction that will be invaluable in this effort. And in the coming days, my office will convene a panel of local and national experts who will develop and launch a strategy that is grounded in a clear understanding of Seattle's gun violence problem and is tailored to the needs of our neighborhoods and our communities. So in the spirit of acknowledging where we're falling short so we can do better, let's turn next to homelessness, starting with the tough stuff here. So last month, I visited an encampment in Ballard that was scheduled to be cleared. After hearing from concerned community members, I decided to extend the timeline to clear that site because I thought that better outcomes were possible for the people living there, their neighbors, and local businesses. And the conversations that I had there at the site really underscored the reality that we simply do not have enough housing, shelter, and services for everyone who is living unsheltered. There I talked with a woman who was 5 months sober and had 3 small dogs, and she was struggling to find a place to sleep inside. With some work, we were able to identify a spot for her in a tiny house village. Our teams also helped 5 more people living at that encampment to secure housing or shelter, and by extending that deadline, we were able to help them make that transition without additional displacement, and I'm grateful for that. And I know that it's not nearly enough. We're doing some things right. Every year, thousands and thousands of people receive the support they need to stabilize their lives, thanks to the hard work of our dedicated city employees and our housing, shelter, and service providers. But if you take a step back or just walk around the city, I don't think anyone can really argue that our overall approach to homelessness has been successful. We can't get so used to the way things are that we start to feel it's natural for so many people to be left to sleep outside every night. We have to make sure that everyone can access and enjoy our parks, trails, sidewalks, and other public spaces. And we cannot just keep moving people from place to place and calling that progress. So here's what we're doing to find a better way forward. First, we will continue and improve on our efforts to keep public spaces open and accessible. I will ensure that the city is prioritizing encampment removals based on safety issues and neighborhood impacts. And at the same time, my office will be working with our unified care team to achieve better outcomes for people living unsheltered. That means conducting early outreach to people living on site prior to any posting of a removal, and allowing flexibility when housing placements are imminent. I'm committed to minimizing harm to people living in encampments at the same time as I take seriously the city's mandate to keep public spaces open and accessible for their intended use. But most importantly, we are moving rapidly to expand shelter with supportive services. One of my first acts in office last month was to issue an executive order accelerating the expansion of emergency shelter. and the interdepartmental team I established in that order is already hard at work. We are identifying parcels of city-owned land that could site tiny houses or micro-modular shelters, and we are exploring every possible administrative and legal tool we have to accelerate the expansion of emergency housing and shelter. And we've begun working closely with the city's budget office and philanthropic partners to secure the funding that we will need to ensure that everyone has a warm bed to go to at night. So in the coming weeks, my administration will also be introducing legislation to City Council to fund shelter expansion and make it faster and easier to build shelter in our city. And I know that this is also a key priority for several council members. Gonna head it, Councilmember Rank, hi. And I look forward to working with them to bring more people inside, with well over 4,000 people sleeping unsheltered in Seattle as of last year's point-in-time count. I know that we have a big hill to climb, and dramatic changes will not happen overnight. But I am determined to add 1,000 new units this year, with services matched to people's needs, and we are on our way to reach this goal. So another central focus of my office's work in our first month and a half, hard to believe it's been just a month and a half, has been ensuring that Seattle is prepared to respond to threats from our federal government. So I was recently at the US Conference of Mayors, and there I met with leaders of cities that have faced surges of federal immigration enforcement and heard about the lessons that they have learned about how to keep people safe. Of course, Seattle's not yet seen a surge of ICE activity like we saw in Minneapolis, but we are doing everything we can to prepare. That includes amplifying the work of our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, which provides Know Your Rights trainings, legal consultations, safety planning, and broad partnerships with immigrant and refugee communities. Together, we just launched a webpage to serve as a centralized place to communicate city policy and provide resources and updated information about federal immigration enforcement activity. That webpage is now available at seattle.gov/stand-together. I've already taken some concrete steps to clarify the responsibility of our police, to document unlawful acts by federal agents, to bar civil immigration enforcement from staging on city property, and to invite private property owners to post notice clarifying that their property may not be accessed by federal agents without a warrant. Recently, I sent a member of my team to Minneapolis to support and learn from the community response there. One key lesson he brought back is that people are ready, willing, and able to support each other, and that one of the most important things we can do as a city is to organize the strongest possible community response. I also know that the pending expansion of the city's CCTV surveillance system is on a lot of people's minds. So today I want to give you some insight into how I'm approaching this issue. I continue to have the concerns that I expressed during the campaign about data security and how surveillance cameras could be abused to target vulnerable communities. And I have also been moved by what I've heard from families and communities impacted by gun violence. I understand how CCTV cameras have been a useful tool to solve crimes and can reduce profiling and protect witnesses. These are both valid points of view that come from wanting the same thing: to be able to enjoy our neighborhoods and live our lives knowing that we will come home safe. I know this is a contentious issue, and I want to get it right and not rush to a particular deadline. So my team and I will continue to dig in, meet with people who have different opinions, and try to find the best way forward. My overriding goal is that whoever you are and wherever you come from, if Seattle is your home, then this is your city, and there is a place for you here. And that is also my message to renters, families, seniors, working people, small business owners, and everyone who is struggling with our city's affordability crisis. You should not need a six-figure income to live here. You shouldn't need $500,000 to buy a house and have some stability in your life. And you shouldn't need to be a millionaire to afford to raise a child. You should be able to raise a family in an apartment if you choose, spending time in our vibrant neighborhoods and beautiful parks, and be able to pursue your dreams and live your life without being always haunted by the stress of whether or not you can pay your bills. This economic squeeze has been going on for so long that it can be hard to believe that we can do anything about it. So I like to look to the past and see what we can learn there. Back around the turn of the last century, Seattleites were in an uproar over the high price of food, which sounds familiar, but back then it was actually the cost of onions that people were most concerned about rather than eggs. Farmers were also frustrated by how little money they were making, thanks to price gouging middlemen who siphoned off most of the profit. In response, our city took action. They passed an ordinance creating Pike Place Market as a place where producers could sell directly to consumers and everyone could get a better deal. That's right, a government-supported partnership to expand access to affordable groceries. Seems like an interesting idea. Today, of course, it's hard to imagine Seattle without the market. And while costs, once again, are a major issue today, that history reminds us that together we are capable of doing big things. And the biggest change that we need to make is to make this city more affordable. Affordability is not just a poor person's issue, or just a young person's issue, or just a working person's issue. The crisis reaches very high up the income scale. It hits baristas and coders and artists, longshore workers and electricians and caregivers. It hits small business owners who are struggling to pay their own bills too. And it also affects our economy as a whole. If half of your income is going to rent and another few $1,000s a month is going to childcare, that means you have less money to spend on anything else. And that lower spending hurts our neighborhood businesses. And if families can't afford to live here, it's almost impossible for employers to retain a great workforce. So today, I'm launching my affordability agenda. We are focusing on 4 key areas: affordable housing, affordable childcare, affordable food, and an affordable city to build a small business. So I think probably most of you know that I'm a renter myself. So I have some firsthand experience of our city's housing crisis. But I'm sure I'm not alone in this room, right? I think everyone knows that home prices are out of control, and everyone knows that the rent is too high. And everyone knows that it is almost impossible to find stability or pursue your dreams when so much of your money and your time is going to pay for the basics. So a couple weeks ago, I launched my mayoral renters survey in 16 languages to make sure we're hearing directly from renters across the city. And more than 6,000 people who aren't usually part of the policymaking process have already shared their experiences with us. As someone who's spent a lot of time over my career trying to get people to take surveys, it's pretty amazing, you know, being the mayor. Take a survey, okay. So we have heard about people forced to move every year because the rent just keeps going up so much faster than their income. We've heard about junk fees on everything from package delivery to mandatory concierge garbage service, and so much more. So this survey actually closes this Friday. So if you're a renter and you haven't filled out the survey yet, you still have a few days. Check it out at wilson.seattle.gov. I will be working closely with the City Council on policy in the months ahead. With their partnership, I hope to quickly provide renters some relief by reining in some of the most deceptive and abusive practices. Of course, landlords and developers are part of this conversation too, and my office is hearing from them as well. My team and I will be meeting with affordable housing providers as well as private market landlords to ensure that they have the tools they need to be successful here. Seattle is a great city, and people and businesses want to come here and be part of it. That's why we also need to build more housing of all shapes and sizes so more people can afford to live here. After last year's comprehensive plan update, I am committed to advancing additional legislation to allow more construction of more housing in more areas. And I look forward to working with tenants, homeowners, developers, urbanists, neighborhood activists, our Office of Planning and Community Development, and our City Council to move forward much bigger and bolder policy in this area in the months and the years ahead. So we absolutely need to build a ton more housing. But let's be honest, this is not going to make homeownership affordable for lower and middle income families in any reasonable time frame. So I'll also be working with our Office of Housing and other city departments to improve and expand on our existing programs to support affordable homeownership. That means making it easier and cheaper to build backyard cottages, providing down payment assistance, partnering with community land trusts, and supporting legacy homeowners in neighborhoods like this one. So this has been an exciting month for another big part of my housing affordability agenda, social housing. Yes, clap for that one. I am thrilled to say that last week, our City Council adopted the interlocal agreement, which will allow approximately $115 million to begin flowing to the social housing developer this spring. That is more than twice the revenue that was initially projected. I think we all know there's a lot of wealth in this city, and it is very gratifying to know that we're going to be able to use a very little bit of that wealth and put it to work building housing. It's taken years to get here, and social housing, I think, really shows what sustained community-led organizing looks like and what it can achieve. So as housing costs continue to rise and displacement threatens so many of our neighbors, social housing is going to give us a powerful tool to expand our non-market housing sector and create true stability. With a robust revenue source, new leadership, and a mayor's office deeply committed to its success, Seattle's social housing developer is now set up to fulfill its promise and deliver the mixed income, permanently affordable, publicly owned housing that Seattle voted for. Okay, let's turn to another huge expense for working families, childcare. We kept it pretty quiet, but a few of you may have heard that I have had trouble paying for childcare myself. Not everyone has parents who are able to help, and also not everyone gets to watch their childcare arrangements become national and international news. But seriously, right now there are so many gaps where so many children, so many families don't have the support they need, and our whole society pays the price. Parents are stressed, kids struggle, and working families move out of the city because they cannot afford to build a life here. Now, at the city, we have already been doing a lot right in this area well before I became mayor. Thanks to the incredible work of the Department of Education and Early Learning and their award-winning Seattle Preschool Program and our Childcare Assistance Program, Seattle is actually already a national leader in this area. Now, that's really encouraging, but it's also a little unnerving that we're seen as leading, because any parent would tell you that there is still so much to be done. And I think it really just underscores how far the United States lags behind many other countries in our support for families. We need to bring down the cost of childcare, expand our pre-K program and summer enrichment opportunities, and also make sure that the people who are doing this work are paid enough to raise a family themselves. Yeah. And we also need to make it easier to site, start, and run childcare facilities in Seattle. Public space and housing are big parts of this too. We need to build more family-sized apartments and homes, expand offerings at our community centers, and create more welcoming places for families to go and enjoy themselves without necessarily having to spend money. There's a lot of pieces to this, but in the end, my job is to make Seattle a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And part of that is making the whole arc of childhood an area of public concern. Everyone considers K-12 education a basic public responsibility, even if we don't always fund it that way. But for some reason, there hasn't been that same broad consensus about preschool or childcare or even after school and summer programs. It's time we started treating childcare and early education as public goods, accessible and affordable to all, just like our parks, schools, and utilities. My administration will be pursuing this vision as we begin to implement the Families Education, Preschool, and Promise Levy that voters passed last year, as well as identifying new resources and partnerships that can take us even further. Food. The high inflation of the past few years has hit us all really hard. The rising cost of food in particular has been a challenge for families that were already struggling. So when the Kroger Corporation decided to close the Lake City Fred Meyer last year, it further highlighted the importance of ensuring access to fresh, affordable food. And the recent closure of the grocery store at 23rd and Jackson has created a second new food desert in the Central District. We know that grocery stores are essential community assets. They support daily life, provide local jobs, access to healthy food, and neighborhood stability. We have to start treating food access as core community infrastructure. One important step in that direction that long predates my administration is the Fresh Bucks program, which helps low-income Seattle residents afford fruits and vegetables at participating farmers markets, independent grocers, and supermarkets. As of this year, we have increased monthly benefits and cleared the wait list, and Fresh Bucks is now supporting more than 17,000 households. Our Office of Planning and Community Development, the Office of Economic Development, and Office of Sustainability and Environment are exploring a variety of approaches around how the city can work with private partners and the Grocery Workers Union to help protect good jobs and expand access to affordable food. We are also looking at new and alternative grocery models that better fit different community needs. So that's all a long-winded way of saying that we are looking at a public grocery store and other ideas as well. Everyone deserves reliable, affordable access to fresh food in their own neighborhood, and we'll be working to make that vision a reality. And we know that our small businesses are facing an affordability crisis too. I recently joined a lunch with small businesses and community leaders in the Chinatown International District, and one woman described how it took 2 years before her friend's business could get the permits they needed to open. That is 2 years of waiting until they were able to hire people and turn a vacant storefront into something more alive and welcoming. I heard many similar stories last year during the campaign, and I know that some businesses never end up opening because long delays like this are so expensive. While rules and regulations are important, some are unnecessarily costly to comply with. Commercial rent is too high, and the high cost of living can make it harder to attract and retain employees. I've talked to a lot of different business leaders since the election. And sure, there are some places where we're going to disagree. But when I hear business leaders talk about their challenges, they don't start by talking taxes or minimum wage or my opinions about the history of social movements. When I hear them talk about their challenges, what I most often hear about are the same as the challenges that we're all facing: affordability, public safety, and homelessness. That's because a welcoming city with thriving neighborhoods and lively public spaces is a great place to do business too. We've made progress in this area, and I'm committed to going further. The Office of Economic Development's Small Business Expediting Program is working to help cut red tape for small businesses across the city, and we will step up those efforts. Our Seattle Restored program continues to grow, partnering with property owners to transform vacant commercial spaces into pop-up shops. And we are offering more support for small businesses to address property damage and security issues through the Back to Business Fund. Applications are open now, and I want small businesses across the city to apply. Visit seattle.gov/OED for more information. I want to take a moment now to speak directly to Seattle's business leaders. Your success matters deeply to this city. You attract talent from around the world that helps make our city great. The taxes you pay help fund the public services we all depend on. And you contribute to the civic fabric of Seattle with your philanthropy, volunteerism, and leadership. Affordability is at the heart of my agenda, and I know it's a critical issue for you as well. But affordability is not government's responsibility alone. It is a shared economic imperative. We cannot remain competitive if line cooks can't afford to go to restaurants here. Social workers need public support themselves, and young professionals cannot afford to build their dreams here. We cannot be a great place to grow if families are priced out of the city. So my message to Seattle's employer community is that we want you at the table. We value your ideas, your investment, your partnership, and your willingness to stay engaged with us, as many of you are already doing, even if the work can be difficult. Because Seattle has always been a city of builders. We build companies that change the world. We build research institutions that save lives. We build neighborhoods that reflect our values. And we build partnerships that make progress possible. And together, we can build a city that is more affordable and safer, where City Hall is known for good governance and delivering results that everyone can see and feel. A world-class city that we can all be proud of. So So you might have noticed that I did not put price tags on a lot of the items I mentioned today. And I appreciate that this year's budget is going to be challenging, and my team is hard at work on that already. So you can expect to hear a lot more about budgets and revenue in the months ahead. But I think there's a lot more to be gained by starting that conversation by looking at what we need and where we want to be, and then figuring out how to get there. I came to the job of mayor as an organizer and a coalition builder. And when you build a campaign to make progress on an issue, you start by bringing people together around the biggest vision possible. You find consensus where you can, you attract more people, you move forward, you make some gains, and maybe you don't get everything you wanted. But when you accomplish things, you raise expectations, and you set the stage to achieve even more. And that's how I think about governance too. So let's start from a place where we all agree. We all want to have a great city with welcoming public spaces, vibrant local businesses, incredible things to do, and great ways to get around. Here's a taste of what that's going to look like in 2026. This Saturday, we are reopening the Hiawatha Community Center in West Seattle after a 6-year closure. The new South Park Community Center will be opening this year too. You should have held your applause because there's going to be a spray park there, okay, which is pretty great. I'm really looking forward to bringing my daughter there. Everyone loves the spray park. So community centers are such an important part of our neighborhoods. They're places where people can gather, families can enjoy themselves, and you can connect across generations and cultures without having to spend any money if you don't want to. In March, the Cross Lake Connection is going to open. Yes. I am very, very excited about this one, bringing light rail across the lake and weaving communities together like never before. And I will be representing our great city on the board of Sound Transit as we continue to build the public transit system of the future, including light rail to West Seattle and Ballard. We are going to partner with the Seattle Department of Transportation to finally paint that bus lane on Denny Way. We're going to speed up the crosstown Route 60 and advance a transformative Seattle transportation measure that gets us on track to restore and surpass the levels of transit service we had reached before the pandemic. And now this is the happy part of the speech, but I'm going to go off script for a moment here to say that, a pedestrian, a young woman, was hit and killed last night in Capitol Hill, my neighborhood. We have to do better. We have to do better. We're not on track for our Vision Zero goals, and we have to make it safe for vulnerable road users, or people walking, or people biking, or people rolling to get around this city. So. Okay, back to the fun stuff. In June, we are going to welcome people from around the world to an incredible FIFA World Cup. We are going to host celebrations and watch parties that make the whole city part of this event. And we're going to encourage our guests from around the world to experience all of the amazing things that our neighborhoods have to offer. We are also going to create more opportunities for more people to play soccer. I'm thinking about organizing a friendly match between elected officials, so, I feel like maybe there's some people in the audience today who might want to join that. Let me know. It's going to be really fun. I feel like we might be able to get, as big an audience as they have at the World Cup for that one. And there's so much more incredible stuff going on. Decades in the making, our amazing new waterfront continues to come alive. There's also a great public bathroom there, and we're going to be seeing if we could do a lot more of that around the city soon. Yes. The zoo is opening their new Forest Trailhead exhibit, which will support global conservation work, protect endangered species, and provide lovely new homes for the irresistibly adorable red pandas and other creatures. That was a little tepid, guys. Red pandas, come on. Seattle Parks and Recreation is opening a new Rainier Beach skate park, the new Garfield Superblock, and Northwest Native Canoe Center, and more. And our Department of Neighborhoods this year is celebrating 35 years of doing the quiet but critical work of helping neighbors come together to strengthen connections, build trust, and shape the future of Seattle together. So I'm not naive. I know that there will be disagreements. There will be editorials and outrages of the week on social media. Maybe there will be more quote tweets from Elon Musk. We'll see. I haven't actually seen that, by the way, but people tell me. And there will be more challenges, too, right? We've already had some challenges. But I've never been more hopeful or more excited about what we can accomplish. I've never had such a strong sense that we're at the beginning of something great. And I feel that across the city. A growing sense that maybe, yes, we can do big things. A lot of that hope comes from the thousands of people who work for the city every day. I've met a lot of incredible public servants already who are so excited to talk about their work and what it means. A couple weeks ago, I got to meet with members of Seattle Public Utilities' South Park Emergency Response Team, who do essential work to protect South Park from the Duwamish River flooding during king tide season. What I saw in them and what they share with thousands of other city employees is that they have an extraordinary dedication to Seattle, to all the people who live and work here, and to our collective future. We have so many great people at the city, and we accomplish so many wonderful things. So to all the people who make city government run, your work is a place where I find hope. So as I said up top, hope is a discipline. And each thing we accomplish lets us build that sense of hope, which lets us do more. We've already taken the first steps. I'm not glossing over the challenges, they're real. But a lot of incredible things are ahead this year. You may know that I'm a relatively new football fan, and I attended my first game in person live at Lumen Field for the NFC Championship. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Like everyone else in the city, I watched the Super Bowl. Here, by the way, with Seattle people. We did, in fact, dominate from the first snap. And I am looking forward to collecting on my wager with Mayor Wu and getting those World Cup tickets for 12 young people from Seattle. The parade last week was an amazing experience, just seeing that spirit where everyone was united, joyfully celebrating our city. And that feeling of unity and pride and celebration, that is what I want to cultivate all year round. And it's also how I want my term to be judged. I want to be judged on whether people are feeling excited to live here, whether people love their neighborhoods, enjoy our parks and public spaces, and feel free to live their lives and pursue their dreams. I want to be judged on whether we are living our values as a welcoming city, whether people are excited to have a family here, to start a business here, to retire, to celebrate, to just be who they are in all of their beautiful complexity. So when I talk about cultivating the discipline of hope, that's what I'm talking about. I want to see people open up to the idea that another world is possible. And by the time I'm giving the 2027 version of this address, I hope you're all feeling that basic truth and know and believe that, yes, this is your city. Because Seattle is the best city in the world. Seattle is the best city in the world. And at the Super Bowl celebration before the parade last week, Ernest Jones had a good message for all the haters. He said, "We're here to stay and we ain't going nowhere." And that's how I feel about Team Seattle, too. Thank you.